Okay, Shalom, Shalom, Kwam Yasha'Allah, Koholoimla, Yahweh, Bahashim Yahweh Shai, Bahashim Chachachadash, double honors to our apostles and elders of Great Millstone who rule well and that by the Spirit taught us this beautiful truth. And just want to say the water to all the H.I.M and Akwaf that's out here sincerely keeping the laws, the statutes, and commandments of Yahweh Bahashim Yahweh Shai to the best of their ability. This is Yachanan Nawaf just coming at you with another quick lesson, praying that it's edifying by the Spirit. And this is a movie called Blazing Saddles, came out in 1974. And this guy right here with the Indian hat, let me see, what was his name? I forgot what his name was back in the days. I kind of remember this guy somewhat, but anyway, let me just do this real quick to show you. Now, if you notice the head garb that he has on with the feathers on it, it actually has Hebrew on it. It's a Hebrew reading on there. So when you look at the original artwork, right? Here's the artwork. Look. Now why does he have a this Hebrew on his head garb? Here it is right here. You can see it right there. See right here. You can see the Hebrew wording on his head garb there. See that? See? I'm not exactly sure what it's saying all the way around, but see, Esau knows that we are the Hebrew Israelites. He knows that the so-called Native American Indians are from the tribes of 12 tribes of Israel, which they would mainly be the tribe of Gad. But they know that they don't have this on here for a reason. Now, he speaks what is called Yiddish in this little scene. Now, this was a comedy movie, but see, they try and make it seem as it's comedic. But see, Esau, he'll give you a lot of truth in his his little bullshit joke movies and shit like that. So let's see here. I don't want to get no copyright. Well, copyright disclaimer. You know what I'm saying? This is for educational purposes only. But let's see what he says here. Because he kind of speaks a little Yiddish here, right off.
Schwarzes. No, seid nicht Mischugge. Laws im Gain! Kappa walk, it's all right. Thank you.
See?
Thank you.
So he's basically saying, let them go, which is actually, that's spiritual, but you know what I'm saying? And if I'm not mistaken, I think this guy was a small hat anyway, but see, this went over a lot of people's heads. A lot of people, kind of seen that and just thought it was just something silly, you know what I'm saying? But why does he have, let's go back to the images. This was the original, like if you were to get the movie, this would be what's in the movie right here, see? See, it says, did anybody else randomly realize that the chief in Blazing, let me see. It's like you may have to go in Reddick. I don't want to go off into no bullshit though, but we'll see. Okay, but it's basically, did anybody else randomly realize that the chief in Blazing Saddles has the phrase poster la kasak, kosher la pasak on his headdress? Okay. So, all right, I didn't know that that's exactly what was being said that's on there. It says the Indians speak Yiddish in the film, so it makes sense, I guess. It says he also speaks Yiddish in the film. Yep, it's hilarious. And on the box of our VHS, Mel Brooks had a lot of fun with it. I cracked up when this showed up in my feed. Okay. Okay, Salakia, that's something else. But overall, see, it went over a lot of people's heads. And let me get this one real quick. Psalms. Let me be a quick little lesson. It was just something that I had heard the apostles speaking on, and I was like, dang, I never really noticed that. And then I went to the movie and pulled it up because I was a little bitty kid when this shit came out. So I kind of watched it, but I remember it being funny. But shit, that was a long time ago. Shit, man. I must have seen some reruns or something of it. You know what I'm saying? But let's get Psalms chapter 73. I just found it to be interesting because Esau don't do stuff like that for nothing. And it's another, it's a Western movie. I can't think of the name of that movie, but I've seen clips of it. where that, it's a so-called white man. A lot of those movies that's, based around that particular time period, those 1800s and things of that nature, they had more sense of who the Hebrew Israelites were, or at least they knew that the Native Americans were Hebrew Israelites because they spoke Hebrew, and they was finding a lot of Hebrew artifacts here in the Americas, in Mexico and all these different places, pyramids and stuff like that. And the Israelites were the one that was in Egypt that was building all those damn pyramids. Psalm 73:3, it says, oh, no, Salakia, that's not what I want. I want Psalm 64, Salakia. Psalm 64:4, that they, no, 8, Salakia. Psalm 64:8, so they shall make their own tongue to fall upon themselves, all that see them shall flee away. See, this was back in the 70s, man. So think about right now. That was 1975, well, basically almost like 1975, pretty much overall. So now you come into the future of 2025. You know what I'm saying? That was like 50 or so years ago. You see? So now all of a sudden, 50 years into the future, the Hebrew Israelites are standing strong on these highways and byways, and that's all that that this word is going out, and it's really kicking Esau in the teeth. You see, but see this right here, this type of stuff right here went over a lot of people's heads, back then. You see, nobody was really paying attention to this. You think they put you really think that out of all the things that he could have put on this shit, you think that they would have put this on his head guard? See. Come on, bro. You got to put two and two together, man. Esau is real crafty, man. The scriptures talks about, never trust the thine enemy. This man is crafty as hell. And also, when you go into Psalms 83, it talks about how, we start from, let me just get to the point here. Verse, might as well start from the top. We start from the top. Psalms 83:1, it says, keep not thou silence, O Yahweh. Hold not thy peace, and be not still, O Yahweh. For lo, thine enemies make a tumult, and they that hate thee have lifted up the head. They have taken crafty counsel against thy hidden ones. Salakia, they have taken crafty counsel against thy people, and consulted against thy hidden ones. And the hidden ones are you so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans. You are the true Hebrew Israelites. You come from Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and Jacob's name was changed to Israel, or Yasha'al in the Hebrew tongue, which means that he is a prince of the power. So we're princes of the power. Yahweh Bashem Yahushai. Okay, it says, they have taken crafty counsel against thy people and consulted against thy hidden ones. They have said, come, and let us cut them off from being a nation, that the name of Israel may be no more in remembrance. See that? For they have consulted together with one consent. They are confederate against thee, the tabernacles of Edom, and the Ishmaelites of Moab, and the Hagarenes. So the very first enemy on the list is Edom, which is the so-called white race today, right? So in all these nations, don't think that, see, when these nations sit around at these UN meetings, they have their, their summits and, all these different things. Don't think that those nations don't know who we are. Because guess what? Guess why we're not at the table? Because they know who we are, and their plot and plan is to actually keep us down. Now, when the president of Russia over this past year that just passed, months back, you remember he broke out those so-called black icons. He was like, went off into those old vaults, thousands of year, 1,000-year-old paintings and shit like that, and all the characters on them was so-called black people. See, that was him making like, okay, because he's a different type of Edomite. And he's figuring, I guess, with these other Edomites all coming up against him, he's like, okay, well, I got something for y'all asses. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna throw a little hint out there. If y'all want to get crazy with it, you know what I'm saying? I'm gonna show the world that the real Hebrew Israelites are actually so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native American people, where they were people of color, right? So I just found this to be interesting. You know what I'm saying? And want to keep the lesson long, but yeah, man. Esau is out here and he's starting to tell on himself. Let me see though. I think Mel Brooks probably was a damn small hat. He put in. I think that guy been dead. I don't know. Mel Brooks ethnicity. Let's see. I think he was a small hat though. Yeah, you can see that goddamn nose on that. Okay, yeah, you can tell. You can see that nose. Yep, Jewish American actor, comedian, writer, movie director, and producer. He was born in Brooklyn, New York. Okay, but see, and it was another movie too, but they try and make it seem like, it's always comedy. It's always some comedic shit. You know what I'm saying? Where they, try and make it seem as if it's just a joke. But really, in reality, they're telling you the truth, man. You know? Because I was asking Chat GPT or whatever that shit is. That's programmed by Esau. So, it's going to pretty much overall give you the information that Esau has been pushing throughout the world forever. It's certain questions that you can ask, but you have to phrase them in a way where, it's almost like, Chat GPT, it'd be lying on itself. You know what I'm saying? Like, okay, well, you can ask a question and it'll say this. And then when you kind of rephrase it, so to speak, you know what I'm saying? It'll actually give you something different, but it's the same question. So you got to be a little bit direct with, that chat hookup, man. But overall, I was trying to find this one movie, man. I cannot find that movie for nothing, man. But it was a Western back in the days. And so-called white man, he was trying to convince this lady, or this, he was a young so-called Indian. And he was like, go ahead and speak, man. Speak in Hebrew. This guy's a Hebrew Israelite, so to speak. And the Indian kept saying, no, I'm not. No, I'm, what I'm saying? But, so they put little stuff like that in these movies, man, for a reason. Because, Esau, he's just that way. That's how cruel he is. He'll take on your character, done stole our identity. And then, he, be, poking little jokes and shit about it here and there. So, these people got a lot to pay for, man. And these are not the real Hebrew Israelites, because matter of fact, now when I asked Chat GPT, is Yiddish really Hebrew, and it said hell no, which we know that to be true. So what are these people speaking? Let's see. Okay, they got Yiddish versus Hebrew. See, now this one says Yiddish and Hebrew are distinct languages, although both are connected to Jewish culture. Yiddish is a Germanic language that evolved in Central Europe, while Hebrew is a Semitic language with roots in the Middle East, and is the official language of Israel. No, it's not, because they're actually speaking German. They're actually speaking German, man. German Slavic language, man. It's not the same language. They're just using Hebrew characters. So that says a lot about these people too. But see, if you don't ask the right questions, people don't understand this stuff. People don't look into stuff like this. They're not thinking about nothing like that. They just speak, figuring these people are the Jews and that they're speaking Hebrew, and they're not. That's why, matter of fact, I seen a video. Let me see if I can find it. They used to have these videos where you would have a German person speaking to a Hebrew person, so to speak, or Yiddish or a Jewish person, and they wanted to see if they could understand each other, and they could, because they actually both speak in German, just a little bit, off with the dialect, so to speak. I'm just going to put in, can German? I should have put it in Google. Can Germans understand? Yep. I ain't even had to do it no further. Look at that. Ain't even have to even type the shit in. See? Can Germans and Yiddish speakers understand each other? And they could, to a certain extent. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, a little bit here, a little, how you may have some slangs or a little bit different, little, things here and there. But overall, they could understand each other because they're actually speaking the same exact language, bro. It's crazy. Let's check this one out. Let's see this one.
What is Yiddish, and is it just a Jewish version of German like some people claim? Yiddish is a Germanic language that has its roots in High German, which was spoken about 1,000 years ago, so it shares a common origin with modern German. However, after 1,000 years, it's certainly a different language from German and has its own rich history reflecting the experiences of Ashkenazi Jews in Europe. The term Yiddish comes from the Yiddish word for Jewish, but it's also been referred to as Yiddishdeutsch, which means Jewish German, and then also it's been referred to as Loshna Ashkenaz, which means the language of Ashkenaz. Ashkenaz is a biblical figure, and Ashkenazi Jews are a Jewish diaspora that emerged during the Holy Roman Empire. Yiddish was the native language of over 11 million Ashkenazi Jews, but these numbers were massively reduced in the Holocaust. Even those that survived had often traveled very far from Yiddish-speaking communities, and so they tended to adopt the national language of the countries they'd moved to. However, there's still over 500,000 speakers, and there's renewed interest in revitalization. It's often spoken by Hasidic Jews, and it remains a minority language in Israel. Here's what it sounds like spoken.
Omgekeken, en het gezegd, de wijs waar gebeuren, heb ik gezegd, nee, gewijs is de wijs maar, heb ik gezegd, nee, gewijs er niet. Ik zeg, we zijn cousins.
What is Yiddish, and is it just a Jewish version of German?
Slovakia through. Through. Let's see what this. Let me see. Overall, you get the point, though, man. I didn't want to keep, like I said, the language long. I mean, the lesson long. I'm saying language, but let me play this one real quick.
So Yiddish is definitely the language in the community. Everyone here speaks Yiddish. Even a lot of the non-Jewish people who work here have picked up Yiddish. And, like, I'm talking fluent. As for English, everybody speaks English as well, some to a higher degree than others, but most people's English here is really good. And, yeah, Yiddish is definitely the language of the town.
So you're saying there could be a non-Jewish person working at, let's say, like a pizza place like your uncle's spot, like a Latino person that speaks Yiddish really well.
Yeah, I've seen it. There are, like, sometimes you see, like, a black person speaking in rapid-fire Yiddish, and it's just, wow, always entertaining.
That's New York for you, though.
Yeah.
That's New York for you.
Through. Anyway, you get the point, man. But I think this was the video I remember watching a few years back, because it's 3 years old. But let's see, though. Maybe we can get a little bit of it. I know they're going to play a commercial.
Hi, my name is Pinchas. I live in Brooklyn, New York. I speak Yiddish, among other languages, and I really love the language. I really am fascinated by it. So I'm very happy that we are doing it. It's very exciting.
Pinchas, do you mind maybe telling the audience a little bit about the Yiddish language? Because I've heard a lot of misleading and false information. If you don't mind, just maybe give people a little bit of a brief background on the language.
Sure, 100%. Yiddish is a language that's around about 1,000 years old. When the Jews, they were expelled from Judea and Samaria, from Israel, from the old times Israel, from that region, they arrived in Europe. They went to different places in the world, and one of the places that they went was Europe. And the first place that they actually came was Italy. They started a little bit in Italy because it was the Roman Empire.
Okay, let me skip through it a little bit, because this guy just fucking lying anyway. Bunch of damn liars.
There's no Hebrew, so I'm actually curious if you're going to be able to understand everything. It's an expression. Yiddish has a lot of very interesting expressions. So his expression is like this. A Mensch tracht und Gott lacht. So that's
Okay.
one. I'm not sure if you're able to understand that.
Ein Mensch. Can you repeat that, please?
Yes. A Mensch, a is two words. A Mensch tracht und Gott lacht.
Okay. So literally, I would translate it like ein Mensch lach. No, it was tracht. Tracht. You said.
Tracht.
In English, it would be a human. Tracht. And God is laughing.
Yeah,
So,
you got it.
yes.
Yeah.
There you have it. Now, how the fuck can this guy understand that he's German? Because it's German that he's speaking, man. See? So, these people, and they talking about Yiddish is 1,000 years old. Well, we know the Hebrew goes back far, far further than that, man. You know what I'm saying? So, these people are some complete damn liars, man. And they're, real crafty. That's why the scripture says to never trust thine enemy. For like his iron rusteth, so is his wickedness. Though he humble himself and go crouching, yet take good heed and beware of him. Roughly paraphrasing, because these are some sneaky, crafty ass people, man. And they have fooled the world, and they're thinking that they are the holy people. And they're not going to tell you about no other tribes neither. You know what I'm saying? They're only telling you about Jewish. Okay, well, where are the other 11 tribes at? Because Jew is just short for the tribe of Judah. You know? Our forefather, he had 12 sons, man. That makes up the 12 tribes of the children of Israel. But I just found it to be interesting, man. When I seen this, that Blazing Saddles hook up, and the guy had the damn Hebrew on his head, on the feathers and shit, playing the Indian. And see, that's them being crafty. That's crafty counsel right there, man. You're dealing with some of the most crafty people on the fucking planet. These boys right here. See, you gotta beware, man. This is why it's so important to know your enemy. Here you go. These fuckers is running around here speaking German, talking about it's Hebrew, and people don't even think twice about it. They don't even. The average person just don't know. So the game that they've been playing has been pulled on the whole entire world, but there are actual people that know that these are not the people, and a lot of these the countries in the world, they don't even recognize Israel as a sovereign state, man, because they understand, they know that these are not the people, right? Let me see. I'm just gonna put in. Trying to think of that one guy's name, the Egyptian. It said Israel. Left being black, but came back white. I think he was on the front of Time magazine at the time. So don't think that these people don't know who we are, man. They get it, but it's they have to really. I think this is it right here. This king right here, yeah, this guy right here. He was on the front of Time magazine at the time, and I'm not sure if they had his ass knocked off or not. But this right here is what he said. The second president of the United Arab Republic, formerly president of the Republic of Egypt, the Europeans claiming to be Jews are nothing more than Hebrew-speaking Gentiles. And they're not even speaking Hebrew. They're actually speaking, German. It says the late president of Egypt, Gamal Abdel Nasser, stated on television, "You, the Jews, will never be able to live here in peace because you left here black but came back white. We cannot accept you." That was 1952. So think about that, man. That was I wonder how he died. You know what I'm saying? I wonder because they probably knocked his ass off immediately, bro. See, this was big back then. This was Time magazine. And I'm not even sure. Hell, probably, I don't know who owned Time magazine back then. Probably the Uwish people. You know what I'm saying? But I'm surprised. If anything, they would have put it in there. But, yep, he definitely said that shit. He says, when he was asked about peace in the Middle East, the late president of Egypt, Gamal Abdel Nasser, stated the Jews would never be able to live here in peace because they left here black but came back white. And you don't think that this guy don't know that? These kings, man, when they, or these people that, they're in those high positions like that, and especially over in the East, they're well educated, man. Don't think that they don't know their history. They learn their history because only way that you can really be a real ruler or a real leader is that you know the full history of your people. So don't think that they don't know the history of the children of Israel, man. In Egypt, man, they probably got some shit, man, that you couldn't even. They got some artifacts knowing full well who we are, if anybody do. This right here, man, hey, Esau, man, you're being found out, man. Matter of fact, let me get one more scripture, because this is a part of end days prophecies right here. 2 Thessalonians 2:3. It says, "Let no man deceive you by any means, for that day shall not come except there come a falling away first, and that man of sin be revealed, the son of perdition." See? So in the last days before the Lord's coming, the man of sin, the son of perdition, must be revealed. And that's Esau. This is the so-called white man. And the top tribe of the Edomites is Amalek, which is those people that's over there in the land claiming to be the people, man. Verse 4, it says, "Who opposeth and exalteth himself above all that is called God, or that is worshipped, so that he is God, sitteth in the temple of God, showing himself that he is God." And this is these people have a real God complex, man. You know, they don't believe in white Jesus, but they don't mind that shit running, because they really just don't care as long as you so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans don't find out who you are. You know, they prefer to push that image of white Jesus on you, man, that idolatrous image, man. Because the Lord isn't, again, he's not a blonde-haired, blue-eyed white guy, man. The Lord was a dark, melanated man. And don't think that guy, that president, the guy of Egypt, you don't think this guy didn't know that shit? You don't think these other nations don't know that? These world leaders, they know, you know, and especially the elite, they definitely know. But they're the ones that's really trying to pull the wool over our eyes. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, trying to just, you know, let's keep them niggas from finding out who they are. You know, because if they find out who they are, they get to calling on their God, Yahweh Bashim Yahweh, then we're in trouble, and they know that. And that's what's happening. And they're trying to stop something that they can't stop, because their kingdom is falling, man, and it's about over with for them. So they can't stop what's going on. They you know, it's really stupid with them trying, but that's the Yahweh Bashim Yahweh got them, you know, doofy like that, man. You know? But I'm going to end out there, man. I pray that this lesson was edifying. Kwame Yasha Allah and the Bible Ball.